The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles in every direction. Representatives from 847 different species sat in their assigned seats, watching the morning session begin. The air buzzed with dozens of different languages being translated through universal communicators. Ambassador Kethvar of the Zephyrian Empire walked to the speaking platform with confident steps. His purple skin gleamed under the artificial lights and his forearms moved with practiced grace. Behind him followed 3 assistants carrying data tablets and official documents. Elder Morthak, the ancient leader of the council, watched from his elevated seat. His wrinkled face showed no emotion, but his 4 black eyes tracked every movement the Zephyrian made. The elder had seen many young species make foolish decisions over his 1,000 years of life. Honored council members, Kethvar began, his voice carrying clearly through the hall's sound system. The Zephyrian Empire comes before you today to announce a great expansion of our territory. Several representatives shifted in their seats. Territorial announcements were common, but something about the ambassador's tone felt different, more dangerous. We claim the Sol system and all its planets for the glory of our empire, Kethvar declared. The primitive species living there will be relocated to suitable worlds where they can serve useful purposes. The hall fell completely silent. Dr. Yil Andra, the council's chief archivist, dropped her datapad. It clattered loudly on the floor, the sound echoing through the quiet chamber. Her tentacles began changing from their normal blue color to a pale white, a sign of extreme shock in her species. The representative from the Altarian Federation, a tall being with crystal-like skin, began typing rapidly on his console. Warning. Lights blinked as he accessed the restricted historical databases. His movements became more frantic with each piece of information he found. Ambassador Kethvar, Elder Morthak said slowly, his ancient voice careful and measured. Perhaps you could clarify which system you are referring to? There are many systems with that designation. Kethvar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. The system containing the planet called Earth, of course. The one inhabited by the creatures that call themselves humans. A sound like breaking glass came from the Vectari representative. The crystalline being's entire body shifted from its normal clear color to deep red. In Vectari culture, this color meant danger so extreme that death was certain. Are you insane? The words came from Ambassador Thekanol of the Hegemony Worlds. The large, bear-like creature stood up from his seat, his fur standing on end. Do you have any idea what you're suggesting? Kethvar's smile grew wider. I'm suggesting that we take what belongs to us by right of superior strength. The humans are barely beyond their planet's atmosphere. They have no real military force. They cannot possibly resist the might of our war fleets. Sit down, Thekanol, Elder Morthak said quietly. The bear-like ambassador reluctantly returned to his seat, but his claws remained extended. Dr. Yolandra raised one of her tentacles. Elder, permission to access historical files for the council's review? Denied, Morthak replied immediately. That information is classified for good reason. The Quintar representative, a floating jellyfish-like being, pulsed with orange light. Ambassador Kethvar, has your government researched this decision thoroughly? Have you consulted the available records? We have reviewed all necessary military intelligence, Kethvar replied dismissively. The humans possess no technology that threatens our forces. Their largest ships are barely capable of reaching their own system's edge. They are insects compared to the power of the Zephyrian Empire. Military intelligence, whispered the representative, from the Sage Collective. He speaks only of military intelligence. Elder Morthak stood up slowly, his old joints creaking. The hall fell silent again as all eyes turned to him. Ambassador Kethvar, I will ask you one final time. Are you absolutely certain your empire wishes to proceed with this action? Absolutely certain, Kethvar replied without hesitation. The Zephyrian Empire has conquered 43 species in the last century. We have war fleets that have never known defeat. One primitive world will not change that record. The elder's expression remained neutral, but those who knew him well could see sadness in his ancient eyes. Very well. The council acknowledges your empire's declaration. We will not interfere in this matter. Will you not support our righteous expansion? Kethvar asked, surprised by the neutral response. The Galactic Council will not support this action, Morthak replied firmly. Nor will we oppose it. This matter is now between your empire and the inhabitants of the Sol system. Murmurs began spreading through the hall. Representatives started whispering to each other in dozens of different languages. The universal translators struggled to keep up with the flood of conversations. Furthermore, the elder continued, any species that wishes to evacuate personnel from Zephyrian space may do so immediately. The Council will provide emergency transportation. Kethvar's confidence wavered slightly. Elder, surely that's an extreme reaction to a simple territorial expansion? The session is adjourned, Morthak announced, ignoring the question. He struck his ceremonial gong 3 times, the sound reverberating through the massive hall, as representatives began filing out. Conversations grew louder and more urgent. Many were already contacting their home governments, warning them to prepare for what was coming. Dr. Yalandra approached Elder Morthak's platform. Elder, should I prepare the memorial archives? The old being looked at her with tired eyes. Yes. Begin with the standard template for extinct civilizations. I fear the Zephyrian Empire will need them soon. How long do you think they have? She asked quietly. Their fleet is already assembling, Morthak replied. Based on their usual mobilization patterns, they'll reach Earth's system within 2 standard months. After that, he paused, his expression growing darker. I estimate the Zephyrian Empire has perhaps 6 months of existence remaining. Should we warn them? They've been warned. The historical files exist for a reason. Every species in this council knows why certain worlds are left alone. Morthak began walking toward his private chambers. The Zephyrians chose to ignore thousands of years of wisdom. Now they'll learn why that wisdom exists. Meanwhile, Kethvar stood alone on the speaking platform, confusion replacing his earlier confidence. The reaction from the council made no sense. He had expected either support or opposition, not this strange neutral withdrawal. His communication device chimed. A message from his emperor appeared on the screen. Excellent work, Ambassador. Our war fleets are mobilizing as planned. Soon, the Zephyrian Empire will control the Sol system and demonstrate our power to the galaxy. Kethvar smiled again, his confidence returning. The Council's strange behavior didn't matter. The Zephyrian military had never failed before. One primitive world would not break their perfect record. As he left the hall, he didn't notice Dr. Yalandra making copies of certain restricted files. Nor did he see the Altarian representative sending urgent warnings to governments across the galaxy. He missed the emergency sessions being called by dozens of species all discussing the same topic: evacuation procedures and humanitarian aid for Zephyrian civilians. The galaxy was preparing for what would come next. But Kethvar walked away, still believing his empire had chosen an easy victory. He would learn the truth soon enough. Dr. Yalandra's tentacles moved quickly across the archive console. Her species didn't need sleep, which made her perfect for the job of council archivist. Tonight she worked alone in the vast underground storage facility beneath the council chambers. The restricted files floated in the air before her, holographic displays showing events from 200 years ago. These records were sealed for good reason. Most council members had never seen them. Some didn't even know they existed. Computer, begin playback of file classification Ultra 7. Earth integration period, year 1, she commanded. The holographic display changed, showing a blue and green planet spinning slowly in space. Earth looked peaceful from this distance. Beautiful even. It was hard to believe what happened next. Historical note, the computer's voice announced. The following records document first contact between galactic civilization and the species, known as humans. Warning, content contains graphic military footage. Yalandra had seen these files before, but they still made her change color with worry. She watched as the first alien ship approached Earth's solar system 2 centuries ago. The hegemony of Kraltos had been powerful then. Their empire controlled 400 worlds and possessed military technology that could destroy planets. They viewed humans as primitive creatures barely capable of spaceflight. Display the hegemony's initial assessment report, Yalandra requested. Words appeared in the air, translated from the ancient Kraltos language. Species designation human shows. Basic tool use and simple electronics. Military capacity negligible. Recommend standard conquest protocol. Estimated resistance duration, 72 hours maximum. The archivist's tentacles curled with dark humor. 72 hours. The hegemony had been so confident. Begin playback of battle footage, Luna orbital stations. The scene changed to show space around Earth's moon. Massive hegemony warships hung in the darkness like metal mountains. Their weapons could crack moons in half. Below them, tiny human ships moved like insects around a giant. The attack began exactly as expected. Hegemony plasma cannons fired, destroying the first wave of human defenders in seconds. More human ships came forward, only to be swept away by superior firepower. Display time index, battle plus 6 hours. The footage jumped forward. Now something was different. The human ships moved strangely, not following normal military patterns. They attacked from unexpected angles, used debris as cover, and seemed to ignore damage that should have disabled them. Display intercepted human communications. Battle plus 12 hours. A crackling voice filled the archive chamber, speaking in the ancient human language called English. All stations, this is Admiral Rodriguez. Pattern analysis complete. Their weapons recharge every 47 seconds. Their ships turn slowly to the left. Adjust attack runs accordingly. Yolandra paused the playback. This was the moment that changed everything. The humans had been losing badly, but instead of surrendering, they studied their enemies. In the middle of battle, while their friends died around them, they learned. Continue playback. The next scene showed human tactics changing rapidly. Ships that had been flying straight into enemy fire now moved in complex patterns. They avoided the strongest weapons and targeted weak points that shouldn't have been visible to primitive sensors. Display time index. Battle plus 18 hours. Now, the human ships looked different. They carried strange weapons that weren't there before. Jury-rigged devices built from battlefield salvage. Energy weapons that fired in unusual patterns the hegemony shields couldn't stop. Computer, explain the human modifications recorded during this period. Analysis indicates human forces modified their weapon systems 17 times during active combat. New designs were tested, refined, and distributed to other ships within hours. This adaptation rate exceeded all known military databases. The footage continued. By the 24th hour, hegemony forces were retreating from several positions. Their commanders sent confused reports. Human resistance exceeds all projections. Request immediate reinforcements. Display the Hegemony Command Council meeting, Day 3. The scene showed alien beings seated around a large table. They looked like giant beetles with multiple arms. Their voices were translated into standard galactic language. General Thekvar, report on Earth conquest progress. Sir, we have encountered unexpected resistance. The humans appear to be adapting to our tactics. Adapting. They are primitives with chemical rockets. Yes, sir. However, they have now deployed weapons that our databases cannot identify. Our technical teams believe the humans are modifying captured equipment. Impossible. Their technology level cannot support such modifications. Nevertheless, sir, we have lost 18 capital ships in the last day. The humans seem to learn from each engagement. Yolandra fast-forwarded through the next several weeks. The pattern was clear. Every day, human resistance grew stronger. Every battle, they performed better. They used captured hegemony technology in ways its original creators had never imagined. Display final battle footage. Kraltos home system. The scene changed dramatically. Now human ships filled the space around the hegemony's homeworld. But these weren't the small primitive vessels from the beginning. These ships were larger, more advanced, and covered with weapons that shouldn't exist. Computer, analyze the human fleet composition at this battle. Human forces consist of 40% original human technology, 35% modified hegemony equipment, and 25% unknown design origin. Warning: some weapon systems appear to exceed current galactic technology standards. The archivist watched as human forces systematically dismantled the hegemony's home defense fleet. There was no anger in their movements, no unnecessary destruction. They moved like surgeons, cutting away only what needed to be removed. Display the Hegemony surrender transmission. A voice filled the chamber, broken and defeated. Human forces, this is Hegemony Prime Command. We surrender unconditionally. We request mercy for our civilian populations. The human response came immediately. Hegemony Command, this is Fleet Admiral Chen. Surrender accepted. Civilian populations will not be harmed. Military forces will be disarmed and military production facilities will be dismantled. You have our word that your species will survive this war. And they had kept that promise. The beetle-like Kraltos still existed, living peacefully on agricultural worlds under human protection. They were farmers now, not warriors. Some said they were happier than they had ever been. Display summary of subsequent conflicts. Devourers of Sekhan invasion, collective Zon war. More footage filled the air. 2 other species had made the same mistake, attacking Earth after seeing the hegemony's defeat. Both had been certain they could succeed where others failed. The Devourers had lasted 8 months. The collective Zon, with their hive-mind coordination, had managed almost a full year. Both met the same fate, complete military defeat followed by peaceful integration into human-protected space. Computer current status of species that attacked Earth during integration period? All 3 species remain extant. Kreltos, 47 agricultural worlds, population stable. Sekhan, 12 mining colonies, population growing. Zon Collective, 18 research stations specialized in galactic communication networks, all operate under human protection protocols. Ylandra studied the final statistics. 3 major galactic powers had tried to conquer primitive Earth. All 3 were defeated so completely that they ceased to exist as military forces. Yet all 3 species survived and even thrived under human guidance. Computer, extract key tactical analyses for distribution to Council members. Warning. This information is classified under Council Resolution 847 Alpha. Distribution requires unanimous, Elder approval. Emergency override. Archivist authorization 77 Alpha. Imminent species extinction event. Override accepted. Preparing data packets for all Council members. As the files compiled, Ylandra thought about the Zephyrian Empire. They had conquered 43 species in recent years. They possessed advanced weapons and experienced soldiers. Their confidence was understandable, but confidence wouldn't save them from what was coming. The historical records were clear. Humans didn't just fight wars. They studied them. They adapted to them. They turned every enemy weapon into a tool for their own use. Most terrifyingly, they did all of this while maintaining strict moral codes that prevented them from committing genocide. The Zephyrians would discover that losing to humans was worse than dying. They would survive, but they would never be warriors again. Computer, add personal note to all data packets. The humans do not fight to destroy. They fight to teach. The lesson they teach is that war has consequences. Some consequences last forever. The data packets shot out across the galaxy, carrying warnings to every civilized species. But Ylandra knew it was probably too late. The Zephyrian fleets were already moving toward Earth. Soon the galaxy would witness another demonstration of why humans were left alone. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the center of the Solar Defense Council's command room, reading from a holographic display that floated before her. The message from the Zephyrian Empire glowed with official seals and threatening language. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said to the assembled military leaders, "we have received an ultimatum from the Zephyrian Empire. They demand our immediate surrender and relocation from all human colonies. We have 72 hours to respond." General Marcus Webb, his face scarred from the Titan mining conflicts 20 years ago, actually started laughing. The sound echoed through the quiet room, causing several officers to turn and stare at him. "Something amusing about the situation, General?" Admiral Chen asked. Webb wiped tears from his eyes. "Sorry, Admiral, it's just another species that doesn't know their history." "Ma'am, permission to respond to this threat?" Chen nodded slowly. "Granted, keep it simple." Webb activated the communication system. "This is General Marcus Webb of the Solar Defense Force responding to Zephyrian Empire ultimatum received today. Message received. Response is no. Earth Defense Force is mobilizing. Any Zephyrian vessel entering Sol system will be treated as hostile. We strongly recommend you reconsider. End transmission." The message shot out across space toward Zephyrian territory. Admiral Chen turned to her staff. "Gentlemen, ladies, you know what comes next. Activate Protocol 7. Captain Rodriguez raised her hand. "Admiral, are we sure we want to go straight to 7? That's usually reserved for extinction-level threats." "Captain, they threatened to relocate our entire species. In my book, that qualifies." Chen walked to the main display showing the solar system. "Besides, we've been peaceful for 200 years. Clearly, someone needs a reminder of why that was a choice, not a necessity." Across human space, ancient systems began to wake up. On Luna Base, massive railguns that had been silent for decades started their power-up sequences. The lunar surface shook as targeting computers calculated firing solutions for objects moving at significant fractions of light speed. Colonel Martinez, commander of Luna Base, watched readouts scroll across his screens. "All railgun batteries report ready status. Ammunition fabrication at maximum output. Sir, we'll have enough kinetic rounds to level a continent within 6 hours." In the asteroid belt, mining ships received new orders. Captain Singh read the message twice before believing it. Attention all mining vessels, military retrofit protocol 7 is now active. Report to designated stations for weapon installation and tactical briefing. The miners knew these protocols existed, but nobody had expected to use them. Within hours, ships designed to crack asteroids were being fitted with weapons designed to crack starships. The modifications looked rough, but they were deadly effective. "This is mining vessel prospector calling Belt Command," Captain Singh reported. "Retrofit complete. Sir, these weapons are intense. Are we sure we need this much firepower? Prospector, you're not fighting other miners anymore. These weapons are designed for military capital ships. Use them accordingly." Mars Command buzzed with activity as Commander Park activated systems that had been maintained but never used. The Red Planet's orbital defense platforms came online. One by one, their weapon arrays tracking toward deep space. "All platforms report ready status," Lieutenant Hayes announced. "Sir, the power readings are incredible. Each platform could take out a small moon. Lieutenant, remember that we're potentially facing an empire that controls hundreds of worlds. They won't be bringing small ships." Commander Park studied tactical displays showing enemy fleet estimates. "Make sure every platform has backup power and enough ammunition for extended engagement." But the most significant change happened when Admiral Chen sent out a specific communication code that hadn't been used in 50 years. Deep in space, beyond the edges of mapped territory, human exploration vessels received the message. Captain Thompson of the exploration ship, Wanderer, read the code 3 times before understanding what it meant. "All hands, this is the captain. We've received a Code 7 military recall. We're going home, and we're going home ready for war." The exploration fleets had been gone for years, pushing the boundaries of known space, making contact with new species, and studying phenomena that defied explanation. They had learned much during their travels. "Captain," Chief Engineer Patel reported, "the modifications we made after the Sigma Draconis incident are still in place. Our weapon systems are, well, let's just say they're not standard human technology anymore." "Good. Send word to the other ships, we're not just going home, we're bringing friends." Those friends were the technological innovations discovered during humanity's expansion into unknown space. Weapon systems based on principles learned from long-dead civilizations. Defensive technologies that bent the laws of physics. Engines that could make ships appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours. Earth's orbital defense grid activated next. Satellites that looked like simple communication relays revealed their true purpose. Weapon platforms that had been disguised as asteroid mining stations powered up. The planet was surrounded by enough firepower to destroy an entire battle fleet. "Admiral," reported Colonel Kim from Earth Defense Station Alpha, "all orbital platforms are active. We have complete coverage of every approach vector to Earth. Nothing larger than a meteorite can reach the planet without our permission." Meanwhile, human colonies throughout space received their own orders. Every settlement, every mining operation, every research station activated their local defense systems. What looked like peaceful civilian infrastructure revealed hidden military capabilities. On New California, the largest human colony world, Governor Harrison addressed his Security Council. "People, we've maintained peace for 2 centuries through strength. Now we demonstrate what that strength looks like." The colony's civilian factories began producing military equipment with frightening efficiency. Automated systems that usually built farming equipment switched to manufacturing weapons. Transport ships became troop carriers. Even the smallest settlements prepared for war. "Governor," reported Security Chief Adams, "we have enough local production capacity to outfit a small army within a week. Our civilian pilots are training on military flight patterns. Sir, our farmers are requesting heavy weapons training. Grant all requests. If the Zephyrians want to relocate us, they'll discover that every human civilian is a potential soldier." Back on Earth, Admiral Chen watched reports flow in from across human space. The numbers were staggering. Hundreds of thousands of ships, millions of personnel, enough weapons to fight a galactic war. "Admiral," General Webb reported, "mobilization is ahead of schedule. We'll be at full military readiness in 48 hours. Our deep space fleets are already heading home. Estimated arrival time, 6 weeks." Chen nodded, then activated her personal communicator. "Get me a channel to Galactic Council headquarters." Minutes later, Elder Morthak appeared on the communication screen. His ancient face showed no surprise at the contact. "Admiral Chen," he said calmly, "I trust you received the Zephyrian ultimatum." "We did, Elder. I wanted to inform the Council that humanity will be defending itself. We have no quarrel with other galactic species, but we will not relocate." I expected nothing else. Admiral, the Council will not interfere in this conflict. However, I feel obligated to mention that the Zephyrian Empire controls significant territory. Chen's expression hardened. Elder, respectfully, the size of their empire is irrelevant. They threatened our families, that was their mistake. Indeed. Admiral, I must ask, will you be conducting this war according to established protocols? We will not target civilian populations. We will not destroy inhabited worlds. We will not commit genocide. But Elder... Chen paused, choosing her words carefully. The Zephyrian Empire's military capacity will cease to exist. Permanently. Morthak nodded slowly. As expected, the Council has already begun preparing humanitarian aid for Zephyrian civilians. We remember how these conflicts end. After the communication ended, Chen stood alone in the command center looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an empire was mobilizing to attack her people. They expected to find primitive humans with limited technology and no military experience. They would find something very different. Computer, she said quietly, begin tactical analysis of Zephyrian military doctrine. I want to know everything about their weapons, their tactics, and their weaknesses. We have 6 weeks to prepare. Analysis beginning, Admiral. Estimated completion. Time. 12 hours. Chen smiled grimly. 12 hours to understand an enemy that had been fighting wars for centuries. Most species would consider that impossible. But most species weren't human. Emperor Zekthar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Infinite Glory, watching the Sol system grow larger on the main display. Behind him stretched the largest war fleet in Zephyrian history. 500 capital ships, 2,000 escort, vessels and carrier ships filled with enough ground troops to conquer a dozen worlds. Magnificent, he said, his forearms spread wide in satisfaction. The primitive humans will witness the true power of the Zephyrian Empire today. Fleet Admiral Vorkesh approached the Emperor's throne, his expression showing concern. My lord, our forward scouts report unusual activity in the system. The human defense grid appears more extensive than our intelligence suggested. The Emperor waved dismissively. Admiral, we have destroyed fleets 10 times larger than anything these primitives could assemble. Their entire species barely occupies one star system. What possible threat could they pose? Yes, my lord. However, I recommend caution. Our databases contain very little information about human military capabilities. Because they have no military capabilities worth recording, Zekthar activated the communication system. This is Emperor Zekthar of the Zephyrian Empire to Human Military Command. You have one final opportunity to surrender peacefully. Submit to our rule, and your species will be relocated to suitable worlds where you can serve productive purposes. The response came from Earth Defense Station Alpha, spoken by a calm female voice. This is Admiral Sarah Chen, Solar Defense Force. Emperor Zekthar, you have entered Sol system with hostile intent. You have one opportunity to withdraw your forces. This is your only warning. Zekthar's laughter echoed across the bridge. Admiral Chen, you face the might of 1,000 worlds. Your tiny ships cannot possibly. The transmission cut off as warning alarms began blaring throughout the flagship. Tactical displays showed new contacts appearing throughout the system. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. Admiral Vorkesh, the Emperor snapped. What is happening? Sir? The Admiral replied, studying his instruments with growing alarm. Human reinforcements are arriving. Multiple fleets dropping out of hyperspace in coordinated formation around our position. Reinforcements? From where? The tactical officer's voice carried a note of panic. Sir, these aren't reinforcements from other colonies. These are ships we've never seen before. They're not in our databases. And sir, they're not using standard human technology. On the main display, the arriving human fleet took formation with precision that impressed even Zephyrian military observers. But these vessels looked wrong somehow. They were larger than the exploration ships that had left Earth years ago, and they carried weapons that didn't match any known human designs. Analysis report, Vorkesh demanded. Sir, preliminary. Scans show human vessels carrying weapon systems of unknown origin. Energy signatures don't match our database of galactic technology. Some of these ships appear to be using technology that exceeds current theoretical limits. Emperor Zekthar stared at the display, his confidence beginning to waver. That's impossible. Humans are barely past chemical rocket stage. They cannot possess advanced technology. The answer came from Captain Thompson aboard the human vessel Wanderer. Zephyrian flagship. This is Captain Thompson, Deep Space Exploration Fleet. You're partially correct. We didn't develop this technology ourselves. We found it. Some we traded for. Some we took from species that made the mistake of attacking. Our exploration vessels. Some we learned from civilizations that died out millions of years ago. Another human captain's voice joined the communication. This is Captain Patel, Sigma Squadron. We've been exploring the galaxy for the past 8 years. We've seen things you wouldn't believe. Learned things your empire never imagined existed, made friends with species that your databases have never heard of. And made enemies, added a third voice from the human fleet, of species that thought they could prey on lone human ships. We brought back their technology too, on the Infinite. Glory's Bridge, the tactical analysis continued to deliver impossible news. Weapons that fired faster than light. Defensive shields that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. Engine systems that allowed instant travel across galactic distances. Sir, the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. We're not just outnumbered. Their ships are using weapons we don't recognize. Our databases have no countermeasures for 60% of what they're carrying. Emperor Zekthar activated his personal communicator, calling the other ships in his fleet. All commanders report. Current tactical assessment. The responses came quickly, and none brought good news. Imperial Command, this is Battleship Dominator. We count at least 3,000 human vessels. Many appear to be armed with exotic weapon systems. Command, this is Carrier Group 7. The humans have established a defensive perimeter around their entire system. Every approach vector is covered by overlapping fields of fire. Imperial Command, this is Admiral Kresh aboard the destroyer. My lord, we're detecting massive energy buildups throughout the system. The humans appear to have weaponized their entire solar system. The most disturbing report came from the fleet's intelligence ship. My lord, we're detecting what appears to be artificially modified asteroids throughout the system. They're not natural formations. The humans have turned space debris into weapons platforms. Admiral Vorkesh studied the tactical display with professional interest, despite the terrifying implications. Sir, the human formation is remarkable. They've achieved perfect coordination across thousands of vessels. This level of tactical precision usually requires decades of training. How is that possible? The Emperor demanded. The answer came from Admiral Chen's voice over the communication channel. Emperor Zekthar, every human vessel in this system is crewed by explorers, researchers, miners, and traders, but every human civilian receives basic military training. We've been preparing for this conversation for 200 years. Impossible, Zekthar replied. Civilian populations cannot possess military effectiveness. You're thinking like someone who separates civilians from military, Captain Thompson replied. We don't make that distinction. Every human is a potential soldier. Every human ship can become a weapon. Every human settlement is a fortress. The tactical officer provided updated analysis. Sir, energy readings from the human fleet exceed our theoretical maximums. Some of these vessels appear capable of destroying capital ships with single shots. All ships, Emperor Zekthar commanded. Prepare for battle. Deploy all fighters. Charge main weapons. We will show these primitives the power of true military force. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the fleet communications. Emperor Zekthar, you have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal. After that, we will consider your fleet hostile and respond accordingly. We do not retreat from primitives, the Emperor snarled. 20 seconds. Admiral Vorkesh grabbed the Emperor's arm. My lord, perhaps we should consider 15 seconds. The Zephyrian Empire does not surrender. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The human fleet opened fire. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy. For centuries. The human attack was not the desperate charge of a primitive species. It was surgical, coordinated, and absolutely devastating. Exotic weapons that seemed to ignore shields. Kinetic projectiles that appeared from impossible angles. Energy beams that struck with the force of stellar explosions. The Zephyrian formation, perfected over centuries of conquest, dissolved within minutes. All ships, Emperor Zekthar screamed. Into his communicator. Focus fire on their command vessel, destroy their leadership. The response came from dozens of his captains simultaneously. Sir, we can't identify their command structure. Every ship appears to be operating independently. Impossible. Military forces require central command. Admiral Chen's voice cut through. The chaos of battle communications. Emperor, you're still thinking conventionally. We don't use central command. Every captain is authorized to make tactical decisions. Every crew knows the mission. Destroy our flagship and 5 others take its place immediately. The battle continued for 4 hours and 17 minutes. When it ended, the Infinite Glory floated alone in space, its engines disabled and weapons offline. Around it drifted the wreckage of the greatest war fleet the Zephyrian Empire had ever assembled. Emperor Zekthar sat in his damaged throne, staring at the tactical display that now showed thousands of human vessels surrounding his crippled flagship. In 4 hours, his empire's military might have been reduced to a single damaged ship. This is Admiral Chen to Zephyrian flagship. Prepare to be boarded. You will be taken into custody for war crimes proceedings. Your crew will be treated according to galactic conventions. War crimes? Zekthar asked weakly. You threaten genocide against an entire species. That's a crime under galactic law. Don't worry, Emperor. You'll survive this. Your empire, however, will not. As human boarding parties prepared to dock with his ship, the former emperor of the Zephyrians realized the terrible truth. The humans hadn't been fighting at full strength. This had been a demonstration, not a war. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, the former Emperor Zekthar stood in a grain field on the agricultural world of New Zephyr. His once magnificent royal robes had been replaced with simple farming clothes. His forearms, which had once commanded fleets, now guided harvesting equipment through rows of genetically modified wheat. Administrator Zekthar called his human supervisor, walking through the field with a tablet in her hands. The harvest numbers look good this season. Your agricultural teams are exceeding production targets. Zekthar looked up from his work, sweat gleaming on his purple skin. Thank you, Supervisor Martinez. My people are adapting to their new circumstances. How are you adapting? She asked, genuine concern in her voice. The former emperor considered the question. I spent 50 years learning to destroy. Now I'm learning to grow things. It's different. Harder in some ways. But he paused, watching Zephyrian children playing between the crop rows. My people are safer now than they were when we controlled 400 worlds. Supervisor Martinez nodded. The transition period is always difficult, but you've seen the reports from other species that went through this process. The Kraltos agricultural worlds are now some of the most prosperous in the galaxy. Yes, I've read those reports. Zekthar resumed his harvesting work. Tell me, Supervisor, was this always the plan, even before we attacked Earth? Administrator, I'm not qualified to discuss military strategy, but I can tell you that humanity has been preparing for species like yours for 2 centuries. We learned early that some civilizations only understand strength. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime, Elder Morthak addressed a special session. The hall was packed with representatives from hundreds of species, all wanting to understand what had happened to the Zephyrian Empire. Council members, Morthak began. Today we discuss the aftermath of the Sol conflict and its implications for galactic peace. The Altarian delegate raised his crystalline hand. Elder, our analysis of the battle data is troubling. The human fleet demonstrated technology that exceeds known galactic standards. How did a single system species develop such capabilities? Dr. Yilandra, now promoted to Chief Council Advisor, activated her presentation display. Honored delegates, the answer is both simple and complex. Humans didn't develop this technology, they acquired it. Holographic displays showed star maps with human exploration routes marked in blue. For the past 50 years, human deep space vessels have been exploring regions of the galaxy that we considered too dangerous or remote to investigate. They made contact with species we've never heard of. They discovered the ruins of civilizations that died out before our current galactic order existed. The representative from the Sage Collective pulsed with orange light. Are you saying humans have been scavenging ancient technology? Not scavenging, Yilandra corrected. Trading, learning, in some cases defending themselves against hostile species that attacked their exploration vessels. The humans who returned to defend Earth brought back 200 years of accumulated knowledge from across the galaxy. Elder Morthak stood to address the growing murmur of conversation. Council members, this is why the historical files exist. Every few generations, a species emerges that believes military conquest is the path to greatness. They see humans as an easy target because they appear peaceful and occupy only one system. But humans are not peaceful because they're weak, the elder continued. They're peaceful because they choose to be. When that choice is challenged, they demonstrate why it was wise to make it. The ambassador from the hegemony worlds, a descendant of the first species to attack Earth, requested permission to speak. Elder, my people have lived under human protection for 2 centuries. We've never been happier or more prosperous, but I must ask, why do humans allow species like ours to survive? Why not simply eliminate threats permanently? Ambassador Theknol, perhaps you should ask them directly. Morthak replied. I believe Admiral Chen is joining us today. The main display activated, showing Admiral Sarah Chen aboard her flagship in Earth orbit. Her uniform showed the wear of recent combat, but her expression was calm and professional. Council members, she said without preamble, humanity received many questions about our response to the Zephyrian invasion. I'm here to provide answers. The Quintar representative floated forward. Admiral Chen, your forces demonstrated capability far exceeding known human technology. Many species are concerned about the implications. Concerned? Chen replied. Good, you should be concerned. For 200 years we've maintained peaceful relations with all galactic species. We've traded fairly, shared medical technology, and contributed to galactic culture. In return, we asked only to be left alone. The Zephyrian Empire chose to ignore that arrangement. They threatened to relocate our entire species. That was unacceptable. The Vectari representative shifted to deep blue, their color of curiosity. Admiral, your exploration fleets possess technology that our best scientists cannot explain. How did you acquire such capabilities? Chen's expression hardened slightly. Representative, for 50 years our people have been exploring the dark spaces between stars. We've found the ruins of civilizations that died out millions of years ago. We've made contact with species so advanced that your databases don't contain their names. We've defended ourselves against hostile entities that exist in regions you consider uninhabitable. Every piece of technology we used was earned. Every weapon system was tested against enemies you've never heard of. Every defensive capability was developed fighting battles in places you've never been. The Corvexy delegate, representing a young and aggressive species, stood up aggressively. Admiral Chen, your demonstration against the Zephyrians has created a power imbalance in the galaxy. Some species might consider this a threat to galactic stability. The chamber fell silent. Admiral Chen's expression didn't change, but somehow, the temperature seemed to drop. Delegate Morvek, she said quietly, are you suggesting that my species represents a threat to galactic peace? I'm suggesting that such overwhelming military capability concentrated in one species could be problematic. Admiral Chen was quiet for several long seconds. When she spoke, her voice was calm but carried an undertone that made several representatives change color with fear. Delegate, let me be very clear. Humanity has no interest in conquering other species. We have no desire to rule the galaxy. We want to be left alone to pursue our explorations and research in peace. However, she continued, any species that threatens human civilians will discover what the Zephyrians learned. We don't conquer. We don't occupy. We don't commit genocide. But we will defend ourselves, and that defense will be absolute. Elder Morthak stepped forward. Admiral Chen, the Council appreciates your clarification. However, Delegate Morvek raises a valid concern about the balance of power in the galaxy. Elder, respectfully, there is no balance of power. There are species that leave humanity alone, and there are species that no longer exist as military threats. The choice of which category to belong to rests entirely with each individual species. The Corvexy delegate's skin flushed with anger. That sounds remarkably like a threat, Admiral. Delegate Morvech, it's not a threat, it's a statement of historical fact. Ask the Kraltos, ask the Sekhan, ask the Zon Collective, ask the Zephyrians. All of them learned the same lesson. Which is, Admiral Chen's expression remained calm, but her words carried the weight of absolute certainty. There are old species and there are aggressive species, but there are no old aggressive species that chose to fight humanity. The communication ended, leaving the chamber in absolute silence. Finally, Elder Morthak spoke. Council members, humanity has once again demonstrated why they are left alone. I recommend that all species review their historical databases and remember this lesson. Furthermore, he continued, any species considering aggressive action against human interests should remember that what happened to the Zephyrian Empire was not a war. It was a demonstration. The humans were not fighting at full capacity. The Altarian delegate's crystalline form dimmed with fear. Elder, if that wasn't full capacity, then what would be? Representative, I pray we never find out. 6 months later, the Corvexy Dominion announced their intention to test humanity's resolve by attacking a human research station near their territory. In the council chambers, representatives quietly began preparing memorial texts for another species that refused to learn from history. But deep in the archives, Dr. Yalandra made a new entry in the historical files. Year 247 post-integration. The galaxy continues to produce species that mistake human restraint for weakness. Humanity continues to provide educational experiences for these species. The lesson remains the same. Some choices cannot be undone. The galaxy was vast, and somewhere in its depths, new species were developing faster than light travel and dreams of conquest. Eventually, one of them would look at the peaceful human worlds and think they saw an easy target. When that happened, the galaxy would learn the lesson once again. Some lessons, it seemed, had to be taught repeatedly. But humanity was patient, and they were very good teachers.